everybody. Thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Tonight, we are joined by up-and-coming flyweight contender, UFC fighter, Cody Durden. Cody, thanks so much for joining us. You're somebody I think a lot of people are looking at right now. You're up and coming. But tell me a little bit about how you started. You wrestled, I believe, throughout high school, which I think is how a lot of UFC fighters start. Tell me, how did you end up where you are now? And did you ever think you would end up in this spot?
Yeah, I wrestled in high school, and I had a kid at an early age, and I had a few scholarships. And when I got out of high school, that was the goal, was to compete at the collegiate level. But when I had my son, I had to put all that to the side and really focus on taking care of another human.
Wow.
And so I wasn't able to go to college, but it all worked out for me.
How old were you when you had your son?
20, 20 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I got to commend you because look, I think that a lot of people, maybe in your shoes, a lot of guys might say, you know what, I don't want anything to do with this, but it seems like you went the opposite direction. I know on your Instagram page, I've seen a picture of, I guess it's you and your son. It looks like you were just hunting together.
Yes.
Was that ever a decision that was hard for you to make?
Well, I always knew I wanted to compete, and but I knew that I had to, get a job and take care of my son. I
Wow.
always wanted to be the father that my father was to me, and so you got to have a form of income. So I worked full time, and I would work. I'd get up at 5 a.m., be at work by 6, get off by 3 or 4 in the afternoon, go straight to the gym, and get home from the gym at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And my beautiful wife had dinner in the microwave for me every night. And so, yeah, it worked out.
Wow.
It was an up and down road, but I knew that if I stuck to it and believed in myself, that I could make something happen.
Well, and I mean, you even turned down scholarships, including to West Point, because, like you're saying, you knew that you had to take care of your son. And it sounds like that's obviously what you did. But did you ever think to yourself, gosh, will I be able to do all of this? Will I be able to have this great career, this professional fighting career? And be a dad and work and like, was there ever a time that you were like, I don't think I can do this?
Yeah, there was many times it's up and down. There was times that I was discouraged, but I never gave up. My story and my life is relatable to millions and millions of people uh, all around the world.
Yeah.
A lot of us have kids or will have kids, and the mindset of fighting is just like, it is what it is. Like it ties us all together, fighting for what is best for us and for what we believe in. Whether you work as a nurse, a school teacher, a barista, um, a kid working at the mall, if you wake up every day and decide that you're going to be the best and the best at what you do, that's what it is. You should dare to be great and dream and dream big.
I mean, I love that. That's the way to do it. You started your professional MMA career in 2016, and 4 years later, you fought in your first fight in the UFC. What was that like? What was the journey to get there like for you?
So my first fight in the UFC was up a weight class versus Chris Gutierrez. His record was 15-3, and I had just fought July 18th, 2 weeks before my UFC debut. So I fought July 18th, and then I got a call from the UFC, and it was everything I dreamed of. I was like 17 pounds overweight at the time, and I just remember getting the phone call, and I was just thinking about the fight I had the week before and all the Mexican food and all the beer that I drank that week. I was celebrating, And I just
Like, I
remember
shouldn't
thinking
have had
about,
all the beers, not all
yeah,
the
yeah,
quesadillas. Oh no.
yeah. So I was thinking about, the 17, 16 pounds I had to lose in six
Oh my God.
days. And
Oh my God.
I ended up getting in there. I made weight. Like I said, I fought at 135 up a weight class. I currently fight 125. And I got the first ever unanimous decision draw in UFC history. So it was good. And the guy that I fought, he hasn't lost since. He just KO'd Frankie Edgar his last fight.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a pretty good showing for myself.
Now, not that I'm advocating that anyone does this, but you lost 16 pounds in 6 days. Is that right?
Right, right. Yeah, I
How
mean,
how does one even go about doing something like that? Now, I know like my brother wrestled in high school, so I remember seeing all these guys when they had to like make weight out jogging in like the sweatsuits and stuff. But that's water weight you're losing. Like, were you
right.
actually losing weight? You must have to lose 16 pounds.
Right. Yeah. So you water load. With the UFC, they have a nutrition program. They feed you. They tell you what to eat, tell you what to drink, and you just manipulate the body with water, and you sweat it all out in the sauna.
Wow,
The days leading up.
that is
So, but
crazy.
after you weigh in on Friday, you have 24 hours to get to eat up and rehydrate
Right.
back up. So by the time the fight comes around, usually your body's back to
Back
normal.
to wow. I mean, that's amazing. And I also heard that, is it true you were working construction throughout your MMA career and you only quit after the first UFC fight?
Yeah. So in 2012, I started working at a place called Corrugated Supply Company, CSC. And basically, we made boxes. And I worked there for 5 years. And I worked my way up the ladder. I was a step up supervisor. I was about to be making $130,000 a year. But I was working 6 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day. And I was
Wow.
fighting. I remember one fight I fought. And for 3 weeks, I had to work 12s every day, 6 days a week.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
didn't get to train at all. And then the plant manager, he was like, Cody, don't be a sissy, get out there and fight, because I was going to pull out of the fight. And I went out there. I didn't train for 3 weeks. And the guy had never been finished in his 18 fight career. And I finished him in a minute and 30 seconds with a rear naked choke.
Of
And
course you did.
so,
Wow.
so I went out there, did the unbelievable. And, the state of Georgia, they were shocked. But then it got to a point where, do I want to continue to work here and not chase my dream? Because I can always come back to the box company,
Right.
I'm not going to be young forever. So my dad offered me a job at UTech Construction, making far less money, and but I would have more time to train. And a lot of people, a lot of family members, a lot of my close friends, they told me I was stupid. But I believed in myself, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I worked in UTech Construction for 3 years until I got the call from Dana White to come to the UFC.
Wow. What do those friends say now?
Oh, I rub it in their face all the time, all the time, because I literally, I get to do what I want when I want, but I'm very disciplined and consistent. And I know what I'm supposed to do. I wake up every day, I go to the gym, come home, take a nap, or do what I have to do as a father and a family man, and I go back to the gym in the evenings. So, yeah, what can they say?
Nothing. They can't
What
say
can they
anything
say?
now because you should. It's interesting because I feel like for a lot of us, there is always this sort of like, I don't know if it's your gut or your heart or what it is, but something that draws you in a certain direction. And I feel like for so many of us, we've felt that. I felt that before I moved to New York, whereas that's where I met my husband, Eric. That's how I'm on this crazy ride. That's how I even became part of this family. And had I never moved to New York, none of this would have ever happened for me. And I felt very drawn to move to New York when I did. Now, so many people said I was crazy. My parents were like, "Are you serious? You want to move to New York? Like, really?" But I think for those of us that actually follow that gut instinct or follow their heart or whatever it is. If you're willing to kind of do everything you have to do like you did, I feel like a lot of times it works out. What would you say to people out there who are like, I have a dream, but everybody kind of says I'm crazy? What's your advice?
Well, if you're ambitious and you have the drive mixed with the discipline and consistency, you can achieve anything.
Yeah. Especially in
Absolutely.
America, you can achieve anything.
Exactly.
I mean, of all places, if there's one place where, if you have a dream and you're willing to work for it, it is right here in the greatest country on the planet. And there's quite frankly no excuse if you're willing to do everything you have to do to achieve that dream, why you can't do it. There's no excuse as far as I'm concerned. But I mean, you're such a great example of that. You have two kids now, is that right?
I do. Yes,
And
ma'am.
how old are your kids?
They're both 11.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Do they understand what their dad does for a living? Are they going to the fights? Like, how does this all work out?
Absolutely. I brought my son. I haven't brought my daughter to any fights. She's not really interested. She's interested in girl things, which is understandable. But my son, I brought him to his first fight on the regional scene when I was 3 years old. And I want him to understand, it's just a sport. I don't have any ill will or animosity
Yeah.
towards my opponents unless we take it there. So yeah, it's just a sport, and it's what Daddy does. It's Daddy's job. And when I leave for camps, when I go to Coconut Creek, Florida, for 3 or 4 weeks, it's because I'm working hard, and this is the way I make money. And if he wants nice things, and we all want nice things, then Daddy has to put the work in and get outside his comfort zone.
Do you think he has any aspirations to follow in your footsteps?
I do not. I think that well, I know that he loves soccer. He
Oh,
plays
okay.
soccer year round. He's begging me to sign him up for travel, and tryouts are at the end of January. It's a big commitment that his mother and I are discussing, and that's the route he wants to go. He told his grandfather that he wanted to be a professional soccer player
Oh.
when he got older, and what he told me is that his grandfather laughed at him and asked him what he really wanted to do.
Oh.
And so it really, I tell him my story. He knows my story about the people that laughed at you and told you couldn't do things. And I think that's why he came back and told me his grandfather said that to him. So
Well, he is following in your footsteps in a way if that does happen because he wants to be a professional athlete, it sounds like, that's a pretty cool thing to do. Let me tell you something though. My kids are young. They're 3 and 5, but my son just started last season playing soccer. And already I am very well aware about this travel soccer situation.
hmm,
I mean, this is crazy stuff, right? Like
yeah,
for people who don't know, I mean, all of my friends with older kids who are involved in this travel soccer, you have no weekends, you have no evenings, like nothing. Like your time is fully committed. I don't think they stay at their houses at all on the weekends. They're just like on the road somewhere with these kids, right? Like it's a lot.
right. So that would entitle,
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday, going to different tournaments all over the state of Georgia. Practice 4 or 5 times a week. It's a full-time job,
Yeah.
and that's why it's important, for my wife and I to be on the same page, and when we decide if this is what we're going to let them do, or if we decide this is not what we're ready for right now, because the sport I'm in, it's a very selfish sport, and it takes a lot of time,
Yeah.
especially if you want to achieve the things that I'm aiming to achieve this year.
Well, let me ask you that. What are the goals? I mean, we're here at the beginning of 2023. You have a 14-4 record. You just won your last two fights. So, what do we have coming up next, Cody? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I want to get that $50,000 bonus. When I knocked
Okay.
out JP Boz in 1 minute and 8 seconds with a straight right hand, I knew I had that bonus, but I didn't end up getting the bonus. So I wrote that down. I wrote my goals down for the year. I wrote them down in November, believe it or not. I put them on the refrigerator. And some of my athletic goals are, to get the $50,000 bonus. I want to fight a top 15 opponent and beat a top 15 opponent. That way I can get into the rankings. I, One of my goals is to get a submission in the UFC and work my way towards becoming a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I just got my brown belt 2 days ago. So if I get a submission in the UFC, I think it'll shoot me up,
I love it.
straight towards that, black belt goal. And another thing I want to do is just, stay consistent, stay healthy, and fight 3 or 4 times this year.
Well, I mean, those sound like some solid goals. I love that you're writing them down. I think that's a good lesson for so many of us, myself included, because, a lot of people, this is the time of year, people are like, we got the New Year's resolutions. Everybody, it's a fresh start. It's a new year. And you want to have sort of these big overarching goals for your year. I love that you wrote them down. You wrote it down even in November. You were way ahead of us on the 2023 goals. I think that's so smart, because then you go back and you actually have to look at them, and you're kind of, they're there. They're not going to go anywhere. And they maybe keep you a little more accountable than if you just kind of are like, oh, I'm going to think about some things that I'd like to do. I feel like I'm going to follow in your footsteps on that and try to write down some big goals for myself this year. Yeah. Is that something you've always done?
It's something I've always done. Last year I wrote down my goals. 2021, it was the 2000 up and coming 2022, and I hit almost all my goals, athletic goals, except the $50,000 bonus. And I thought I had it
this year. I feel good.
I'm going to get it this year.
I love it. Well, that's obviously it works if you write them down. So I feel like I'm going to start doing that. Interesting question for you. And I feel like I probably know the answer to this. Would you ever run for political office? Why or why not?
Well, that is an interesting question. Right now I'm fully invested in my athletic goals, and I just don't know. As humans, we all evolve. And, I do remember Donald Trump. He had no interest in running for
I remember him too.
Or being political. And but we all change. So you never know. It could be.
It's true. All right. So we're going to mark you down as a maybe. What's interesting with Donald Trump is if you look back to those really early interviews, and I'm sure people remember there's this one interview with Oprah Winfrey, and she asked him in like the 80s, would you ever run for president? And he said, only if things got so bad that I felt like I had no other choice. And I actually feel like that's why he ran in 2016, is because he was like, I can't look at America anymore and the decline and sort of the trajectory we're on here and just sit on the sidelines and say like, well, I'll probably be okay, but the country ultimately will not be. So you know what? You're right. You never say never. And people, I feel like, ask us in our family these questions all the time, because now we're just like an inherently political family. And politics has been so tarnished, I feel, for so many of us in our family, because it's just so disgusting and awful in so many ways. But then you do see the major impacts you have on people across the country and people around the world, really on a bigger scale. If you do great things for America, great things happen around the world as well. So we never say never either in our family.
Right.
So I guess we'll all just stay tuned. What's next? Anything we can look to in the coming month or two for you, or should we just stay tuned?
So I'm waiting on the UFC matchmaker, Mick Maynard, to send me an opponent, send me a location, and I'm there. I've never turned down a UFC fight, and I fight who they give me. And that's what I'm waiting for, waiting on an opponent.
Cody's ready to go. Get him an opponent. Let's do it. Let's get the 50,000 this year. Well, we're going to keep watching. And look, I hope, you know what I would love? What you should do, Cody? You should post on your Instagram your goals for 2023. And then, like, as you mark them off, just like, remind us, like, did this, check that box. I kind of love that because it sounds like you're going to just smash them all this year anyway. So
Let's
absolutely
go.
love it for you. Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go. I love
Hey,
it. Well,
and in 2024, I want to come to a rally. So invite me.
Well, look,
Invite me.
done and done. So we'll hope that you got some amazing accolades you could share with the crowd at that point. I'm sure you will. 2024, you got it. Cody Durden at a Trump rally. We will make that happen. But now we got to come to a UFC fight. So let's try. We should also make that happen as well. I feel like my husband and my brother-in-law I have yet to go. So perhaps I'm coming and I'll watch you fight. I would love that.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, Cody, you're the best. Thanks for joining us here on The Right View. Best of luck with everything. We'll check in and see how things are going for you. To everybody at home, as always, thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here next time for more.